Hello and welcome to another episode where we're going to go back to talking about some microphones. I was reading about some of these retro looking microphones that have been used in a few pop videos recently, and there was a bit of a trend, I thought, that people were sort of selecting microphones to make videos because they looked pretty impressive because they were old. And I looked up the ones that were being used and they were actually quite expensive. And then I spotted on AliExpress some retro style microphones that were very cheap, as in 20 quid. So I just thought I'd have a look and see what they were all about. And interestingly, they were actually large diaphragms. So they were actually 25 millimetre, so 1 inch. 1 inch capsules inside a quaint looking housing, like this. So I mean, it's quite an attractive sort of microphone in a weird way. I mean, it's all metal. It's got 4 springs. And if you turn it this way around and look at it, you can actually see the face of the capsule, which immediately made me think it's going to pop and bang a bit if you use it in close. So like in the pop videos where people are singing into them that close, that's clearly not going to work, is it? Because it's going to be banging. And there's no way you can put a windshield on something like this. So it's a more distant mic. And I thought, well, I like more distant mics. I never go close through choice. So I wondered what it was like. I mean, realistically, it is just a 1 inch diaphragm condenser mic, 4 little springs. They're actually very solid. So if you try and wiggle it, it doesn't move. So it made me think, how good an isolation mount is it? Now, to save you waiting, there really is very little difference between tapping that and tapping the housing of the actual microphone part. So don't get too excited that springiness is going to do you a good job, because it's not. So what are we looking at? Well, it's got a fixed mount, so you can't put it into an ordinary microphone stand. It's actually got one of these. And that particular moulding there, that little piece of sort of cast metal, I've seen it on a few other microphones as well. So it's obviously a shared component that's been made with something else, because that's definitely the same thing that I've seen somewhere else. I'm trying to rack my brains as to which microphone it was on, but that looks familiar. The knob's different, but this particular mould at the bottom is the same. It's made out of metal. Everything on here is metal. There's no plastic really. So I wonder what it sounds like. I mean, am I going to be pleased with it? I don't know. But for 20 quid, seems pretty good. If it makes a half decent sound, I think I could probably sort of find something to do with this. So what we'll do is, let's swap this with that. Hang on a minute. Well, there we go. That's both the microphones set up the same distance from our mouth, which is about that far away. So they're both the same distance away. We're on the SM7B, the comparison mic at the moment. So let's switch across to this 20 quid one. Well, there we are. We're on the £20 microphone now. What do you think? I have to say, it's quite bright. I don't dislike it. I think the one thing that is a bit surprising is the fact that it is obviously made for its looks, because that mount is not particularly sort of useful. I'll show you what I mean. Let me just tap on the outside ring. If I now do the same sort of thump on the actual microphone part itself, that was outside again. That's the inside. Don't know. It's too stiff, I think, to be much use for isolation. But I think it's quite an attractive microphone. It's cardioid, as you'd expect, 25mm diaphragm. And not too bad. I mean, we've been switching about between the Dynamic SM7B and this 20 quid mic. I could live with that. I mean, some of the really cheap mics that are about at the moment for 20 quid are pretty horrible, but this isn't too bad at all. Oddly, it's also one of those microphones that comes with an XLR to 3.5mm jack. So in actual fact, it doesn't need 48 volts, which is actually what I'm supplying here, of course, but it doesn't need 48 volts. It's happy to work off the typical laptop power supply, which squirts 5 volts down the cable. And that seems to be pretty similar. So it's powerable like those really sort of cheap and nasty ones that you sort of see everybody with. But in real terms, I mean, it's quite an attractive microphone, and I don't think it does a particularly bad job. And for 20 quid, it's okay, and it looks pretty good in photographs and videos, doesn't it? I will just try it on a guitar and just see what sort of sound we get from an instrument rather than a voice. Hold this place. So there you go. What do you think? I think clarity-wise it's okay. It is a little bit noisy, I think. Basically, if you listen carefully, you can hear the background noise level. So that's something to perhaps consider. But all in all, for 20 quid, I think it's a pretty good deal. Anyway, another video's coming soon on a look-alike Chinese mic. Not a fake, but one that looks like something else. Have a look at the next video and see what you think. Look after yourselves, take care, and I'll see you on the next video.